Good evening, everybody. And we are Gaming the System. We're here for another episode this evening, and we're going to be talking about the gaming industry. You might have noticed since I'm talking, I shall be hosting, which is a rare occurrence. It's the first time I'm doing it, so bear with me. And we are very excited to welcome Kate here this evening. She's our first ever guest on the podcast. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
Hello, hi. I'm going to kick off this evening by asking everybody our usual starter question, which is, what games have you played this week? Or if you haven't played any, what was the last game you played?
Ooh, I've not played any games this week. I've most recently played Grounded. I play that on the weekends, which is a lot of fun.
Nice.
I'm actually still in a nostalgic kick. I'm still playing Arkham Asylum at the moment, but just found it really. I like the fighting style, and it's just very soothing when you've had a stressful day, just lying back with the controller. Oh, and Fable Legendary Edition I picked up in the sale as well. So playing that. I'm at a massive nostalgia gaming point at the moment.
I've been playing Resident Evil, The Village. Which is awesome, and I love it, and I have very fond memories of the first two Resident Evils, and it's taking me right back there, and it's just been brilliant. And I've done a lot of like and oh my god. So that's usually quite good.
Nice.
The neighbours complained yet?
Not yet.
I have been playing some Astrobot, which, as you can gather, means I have recently acquired a PS5. So it's all very exciting times. I'm going to carry on the theme of what games we play. I'm going to ask Kate, what games do you play generally?
Generally, just a whole bunch, really. Like Stardew Valley, actually. Most recently, probably. I've sort of like deep dived into that, never played it like previously up till this year, which has been a lot of fun.
We're both huge Stardew Valley fans.
Great.
That's why we're grinning at you.
It's so soothing just to be like planting your seeds and then coming back, and yeah, it's great. Slightly boring games are my jam. Sea of Thieves also was really great. I'm just getting, especially when you can't meet people a lot at the moment and see people playing a lot of like online games with friends at the weekend has been really, really great. Yeah, pretty much that, those ones.
Nice. Yeah, we've had a lot of chats about how gaming's kind of brought a lot of people together over the pandemic, certainly. So it's just been really interesting to talk about. I'm going to ask you another in-depth question. I hope you don't mind. And I would like to know, how did you actually come to start working in the gaming industry? I should have said, actually, while I introduced you, that you are a concept artist for Mediatonic. So feel free to elaborate if you wish.
Initially, I've been kind of like one of those annoying people that's known what they wanted to do since I was really small. I discovered what a concept artist was when I was about 10. And pretty much from then on, I was like, this is what I want to do. So drawing has always been a huge part of my life. So that's always felt like that was the route it was going to take. And then you get to, it's hard to know how to get into it when you don't know people in the industry, I suppose. It was definitely tricky, but literally all I did was apply like a normal job on an Indeed, and I did get very lucky. I applied for a different role because I wanted to sort of edge in. I wanted to get to concept art through a different route, but luckily I wasn't appropriate for that role, and I was appropriate for a concept art role. So that's how I got to where I am at the moment.
And so now that you've reached your, shall we say, childhood dream, do you have any ambitions to move further into different parts of game design and concept art, or are you quite happy where you are? Generally?
I'm very happy where, sorry. I'm very happy where I'm at the minute with concept art. Like, it's definitely feels right for me, and I really love it and enjoy it. And it's just a lot of fun, really. I just want to continue doing what I get to do every day. And maybe one day to be able to like create my own projects and things would be amazing. But that's down the line.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at some of your art? You've kindly provided us with some lovely portfolio pieces.
I think they're all cool. What do we want to look at first?
I don't mind. We'll go through them, and then you can tell us a bit more about them.
Okay. This is Gandalf. So there's a character. It's called Character Design Challenge. I think it's hosted mostly on Facebook and Instagram, and it's great. Every month there's like a new theme, and some of them are original designs, and some of them are kind of redesigns of characters that already exist. And this was January or February. It was earlier this year, and it was Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings was quite like fundamental for me because it was part of the like looking at the watching all the behind the scenes. It was sort of concept art processes from that was definitely like part of why I wanted to do concept art. And I'm also reading Lord of the Rings at the moment, so I just felt like I need to draw Gandalf or something. So it was really just kind of a vanity piece, I suppose, just a bit like indulgence.
It is really cool. Yeah. It's funny, we were talking in the WhatsApp recently about how much popular culture kind of intersects into gaming and how it's influenced a lot of our gaming choices. Because we obviously a lot of us play games based on films or books as well, which is always quite interesting.
This is kind of my most recent project that I've been working on, and I'm about halfway. It's kind of like a 2-part project, and this is like concept to 3D pipeline. I'm trying to just get myself more familiar with that. So this was the concepting point of it's just a basic kind of dagger that I've been like rendered up to like 2D.
Like the finished version there.
Yeah. And then I intend to model it in 3D and turn it into an asset that could be used. So it's just kind of like
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really love the bug in the amber there.
Yeah.
Loving that.
It reminds me of Jurassic Park when he has that in the top of his cane.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good reference.
Yes. How many changes on average does a concept art piece go through from like initial design to sort of finished in-game thing?
These ones not so much because they're just my personal ones, but for in-game, like so many. It's like it's hard to put a number on it because it does depend, I suppose, on what point you are at in the game. Especially if you're in a game that's already released, there might be less iterations if you're familiar with the established style and things. But earlier on in game design, there's a lot of iterations and backwards and forwards and things that just get thrown out, and you can't be too like precious, I suppose, over drawings because those scribbles just get like they'll be relevant one week and just not the next.
I wanted to ask about the this one, basically the spooky ice cream. I just wanted to know where can I see a spooky ice cream?
This one was just it was last year, and I just hadn't really drawn for a while. It was that point in lockdown where like we'd all been locked down for like a little while, and like the fun of it was wearing off a little bit. It was getting to Halloween. I just wanted to draw a spooky picture, and for some reason a spooky ice cream truck just seemed good to do. It was a lot of fun, actually, that one.
What's your kind of primary medium? I'm assuming that you do a lot of digital art, obviously, but like, do you draw by hand as well and things?
I pretty much exclusively do digital art these days. I used to do a lot of traditional art, especially at uni. I didn't do a course for game design or anything like that. I did illustration, which was very, or my course specifically was very like traditional based and printmaking and things like that. But since kind of starting this career, it's pretty much exclusively digital art. Not that like I kind of feel like I need to get back on the traditional boat a little bit, and I did try like this year to start like some painting again, but yeah, no, it's good because they do inform each other, which is really useful actually, especially with color mixing and things like that. But yeah, digital art is what's used in industry. So.
Yeah, I've got a question I want to ask kind of everybody, so I'm going to ask you now. If you could create a female protagonist as a piece of concept art, what would your female protagonist look like in a game? It's a big, broad question, I know. Does anyone want to jump in?
I was thinking what Gems would look like, which is because I was assuming Gem you were going to have like really cool bikinis.
No, actually, mine. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking, well, I mean, there's the idealistic, idealized style, which we've talked about before, where I've said that I like my my characters to look sexy. But I was actually thinking it would be really nice actually to play a relatively ordinary looking woman, somebody who actually looks like a real woman, and somebody who looks, I don't know, a little bit more like me. So not terribly skinny, not terribly large, somewhere in the middle, not really muscular, but muscular enough to actually be able to hold the weapons that they're holding and do the kicks that they're doing and all that. Just something that was a bit more realistic. I think that's what I would like to play. I know it's a little bit boring, but I played it. I do like to play my high fantasy characters, but yeah, I think that would be fun.
I want the kid out of Wreck-It Ralph. I can't remember her name, and it's driving me nuts. I feel like that's always the character I want to be, just sort of small and cute.
She is very cute, though.
She is, and she's the fastest racer, so that's cool. But I'm not very artistic, so I'm allowed to steal somebody else's idea.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be able to draw mine. That would be more like a stick figure.
I think for me, I'd have to draw a character that was kind of more androgynous, something that like I didn't really have when I was younger. I think best example at the moment for me is the Mitchells versus the Machines, like recently came out on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a character in there called Katie, and it's like, oh my god, that was me. Like, so I'd like to have a protagonist like that. I would have found that useful as like a child.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that, because I think we had a lot of discussions about the types of women in games that influenced us and how they weren't really realistic, and that how we couldn't always relate to them, even though we did take some inspiration from them, but they weren't always realistic. So like you say, it would be good to have a character that's more rooted in reality that we can relate to as a protagonist, and that would make it a far more layered character as well, wouldn't it, really? I think for me, probably I'd have to have a character that was somehow disabled in some way, because obviously being disabled myself, you don't ever see that as a protagonist in game, not that I know of or have ever played anyway, but yeah, something like that would be a really interesting kind of well, not experiment, but just something good to see as something a bit different, I would say. Oh, my questions have gone missing. Oh yes. Now then, going to have a question about how diverse we all feel the industry is as a whole, in terms of what it looks like in terms of how people that work there, but also people that partake in the industry in any kind of way, I suppose. That's quite a broad question, so we could kind of narrow it down to just people that work in the industry. In terms of diversity, do you think there's more work to do? Or is it okay as is?
No, I think there's absolutely more work to do on that front. I think to say any otherwise would be very misleading and naive. It's obviously been very white male dominated for a long time, and it's nice to see that there are changes happening, and that there is awareness of this, and I think that's really positive. There's several kind of commitments being taken internally, which are really good to see. There's the Raise the Game pledge, which is a commitment to diversity within the gaming industry, and it's about kind of changing things to be more inclusive and to have those other voices be able to be heard. And it's really good to see that kind of starting to happen and those changes being made. And I think it takes a little bit of time to see it, especially on the outside, but things are sort of moving, and it's exciting for the future, I think, of games.
I think you can end up a bit in an echo chamber of on Twitter. It's I was thinking, I actually follow quite a lot of women developers on Twitter, but that does obviously in no way representative of the wider industry. It's I've obviously chosen to follow them because I'm trying to see what's going on in their industry as well and stuff like that. And I think it is the stats, whenever I've looked at the last time I looked at the stats was not this week, but whenever I have looked at them, it's not great. And obviously, as you say, it goes beyond just getting women in. It involves getting all sorts of groups in so that we can have disabled characters for Alex as the protagonist, obviously, and having all sorts of some neuroatypical people for me, and whatever it is Jem's looking for out of a game.
Big guns.
I ran out of sentence there.
A magnum is what I'm looking for right now. A magnum.
Everyone loves magnums.
Not the ice cream.
No, well either or. Yeah.
But because my biggest complaint, that one, I play a lot of 7 Days to Die, Kate, and so I'm usually complaining about the game developers for that, the fun pimps, who are first of all called pimps, which is just not a great start in the first place, but also the fact that every time I'm sitting here waiting for the newest alpha of the game to come out. So I haven't told you guys this yet. So I've complained before that I waited 18 months for a new alpha, and they'd made Trader Jen's boobs bigger and made her more tartly dressed. This time, we got the latest update the other week. There's a new zombie model, and while they already had a stripper zombie and a nurse zombie, they've now added a woman in basically a black, almost a dress, and high heeled stilettos and blonde hair and boobs hanging out. So they've actually they're managing to make it more sexist on every update, which is... Maybe it's because I keep complaining about it. I don't know.
It's definitely one of those things that's just so even studios vary so much from how inclusive they are. So overall it's definitely and there's definitely some that are just this is not, can't see this going in a great direction in that kind of way. But some of them are changing things.
I hope I'm not preempting one of your questions here, Alex, but I was going to ask Kate, do you feel a pressure to sort of push things forward because you're female working in this industry? We've talked a bit about the pressures on everyone really to be sort of like the representative. Do you feel that, or do you?
A little bit, I suppose. I'm kind of more so like, I'm also gay, so like more so on that front, I think. So a little bit, but it's not a huge. It's more about, for me, like I kind of want to take that role on now, because as to be a role model for younger generations and people coming up the ranks. So that's my motivations for kind of wanting to push those forwards, rather than so I suppose so. But yeah, it's not a huge pressure, just like a little one.
It's really positive to hear that you want to be a role model, though. I think we definitely all can work in that way, certainly, in promoting things that are important to us as well. And a lot of those things are, obviously, as you know, we all are intersectional feminists, so we promote that a lot, and obviously other things as well. But yeah, I think we can all do things to help in terms of making things more inclusive wherever we are in the world. But it takes a lot of us all banding together, which is the tricky thing. So, have you ever felt, this is kind of jumping off of Jam's question, that being female in this industry has impacted the way you're treated? I know that that's a slightly negative question, but you could always take it where you like. Go ahead.
Me personally, I think I've been very lucky and had quite a good experience of the games industry so far. The company or studio I work for is the one that I've only worked for while doing what I'm doing, and I'm lucky that that's very inclusive and working hard to sort of diversify itself. So personally, I've not faced any kind of negative things about being like female or anything like that in the industry. So yeah, I'm definitely probably in a minority there from hearing stories from other people, but no, I think I consider myself quite lucky to have not had to have faced any of those.
That's good to hear. I've got a kind of random next question. It can go around to everybody, in fact, because I think it's just a very interesting question, and I will try and answer it myself as well. What question do you wish people would ask you that they never do? And this can relate to your job, it can relate to anything really you want it to. But yeah, I suppose for the sake of the episode, we'll just say in relation to your role as a concept artist, Katie.
Ooh. That's a really tricky question.
I
don't know. I think
you can blame Matt. He's not here, but
I think maybe, especially for people who don't have anything to do with like games or like have much knowledge about how they're made or what concept art is, I think maybe just to be asked like what that is, because quite often you'll say like, oh, what do you do? I'm a concept artist, and then it's just like a glazed look. It's like I don't know what that is. We'll just move on. And probably just that. Yeah, I'm not sure otherwise. It's a tricky question.
Yeah, I was saying I would no idea what I was. I suppose like if in terms of gaming bigger, I'd like it if more people on that note asked me like, how do I get into PC gaming? Because like it's just there's so many awesome games out there that would work for so many different people who I know have computers capable of running them and stuff like that. And I'm just like, you don't have to go out and buy a console. No, sorry guys, even I know you're the PS5 gang over here, but you don't have to go out and buy a console. You know, you can just sit there on your computer and boot up Stardew Valley, which obviously is one of my favorite. Get RimWorld. My other half's been playing RimWorld for the last 3 days solidly, pretty much. So, there's like lots of nice little games, and I wish people would ask about them more, because I think a lot of my friends who don't game need to chill out, and it would really help them.
Yeah, I think that would probably be my one. Like, just people ask about gaming, ask about, because I think it would just open up a whole heap of different questions. I think that would be really fun, actually. Without me having to go like, oh, by the way, I game, and then there's like shocked and awed silence in the room.
Yeah, it's funny when you tell people, sometimes their reaction is like, oh, that's so cool, and then you can just talk about gaming because they're obviously a fellow gamer, or they'll just be like, oh, that's nice, I didn't know you did that, and then they'll just move on entirely. I see we have a question in the chat from Daniel, who says, Kate, what kind of expectation did you have when you started in the industry, or was it just, I don't care, this is cool?
I just really like drawing, and it was like, I kind of want to get paid for this, and I didn't, like, I'm not really sure if I had expectations. It was I knew that I liked to come up with ideas and draw them out, and I did think it would be really cool as well. Like, I guess all of those things. So expectation-wise, the way I got my job was quite odd, because it was very quick and I didn't really know what I was doing, or the company. This is probably like calling myself out quite a lot, but didn't really know much about the company I was going for. It was kind of, like I said, I applied for a UI role, which was different to what I wanted to do, but I thought if I could get it, I could segue in. It's just a foot in the door. And I ended up getting within like a week of applying, I started my first day. And it was just, I didn't know what was happening. It was like kind of a whirlwind, and it wasn't really until like a few weeks down the line that I kind of could form any expectations of what I was going to be doing. So yeah, I suppose I didn't really have many expectations before. I just wanted to be in that industry and be able to draw for a living, because that was kind of the ultimate goal.
What would you say is your favourite part of the job? It sounds too much like a job interview, but
no.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. It's hard to sometimes, like, you have to do a lot of like sketches, and and they're really rewarding, and it's great, but it's probably like the hard legwork of the job. I think my favorite part is definitely like rendering a picture up. So like when you've done the sketch and it's approved, and you can finally kind of like make a nice piece of art to show, and kind of explain what it needs to look like. I think that's my favorite part, probably.
I only have the wildcard question left, and I am aware we have only used half of an hour.
Could I ask about?
So feel free to ask. Go for it. First
of all, I love this creature, and I want to know what this creature's up to and what they're doing and what they're about.
That is that I did as a result of I just done a course. There's another artist. I always get her last name wrong, so I'm sorry if someone tries to Google this and it's completely wrong, but Terrell Witchlatch, I think, is her name. And she is like a proper old school artist. She did a lot of the concepts for Star Wars, the prequels, I think, mainly. And she did this course on kind of, it's called Schoolism. It's this, you just kind of learn a lot of fundamentals about art on there. And hers was on creature design. And it was really fascinating. And she goes into so much detail about bone structure. And this is like very like art-based stuff, like very kind of nerdy art stuff. but how like you can change like bone structures to fit and make whole new kind of creatures from it. So I wanted to make this weird cross between a fish and a salamander type of thing. and following her course, this is kind of what I came up with. And
it's very cool. It's cool how you have to have like a really in-depth knowledge of like things you wouldn't associate with art. You know, like you say, like bone structure. It's more a medical thing, isn't it? But
yeah, there is kind of interesting because there is like a big crossover with that kind of part of like not things you wouldn't think about needing to know, but obviously you don't need to know it quite as much detail as like doctors and things, but it's definitely useful to be able to draw kind of convincing people and creatures. Yeah,
I was reading one of the books that was like one of the big books of last year, and I can't remember who wrote it, but the book itself is called Luster, and it's one of those. It's like quite emotional social commentary and stuff, and it just in the background has that she's an artist, and one of the other characters works in a mortuary. And so she keeps going to the mortuary with the other character to practice the drawing of bodies and saying like this is the absolute, and being able to understand the muscles, the bones, the everything that goes inside is like what helps her become a really good artist at the end of it. So. We have to look at the rabbit and the tentacle wizard. I'm sorry, I've been leaving the tentacle wizard till last deliberately.
I named it myself, but I wasn't sure that's what it's called. So please feel free to correct me.
The rabbit first.
The rabbit is kind of vaguely connected to the salamander in the sense that I did this just before I did the course. And then I did the course and went back to it and realized like the anatomy was horrific, so I kind of threw it away a little bit and I'm not posted it anywhere because of it, but I probably should because I did spend quite a bit of time on it. But it's just, I don't know, I just wanted to draw a wizard rabbit in a hat.
Clearly,
why not?
I can see you like wizards as well, so this is what Alex has called the tentacle wizard.
Oh yeah, this is.
And then my phone auto-corrected it to something else, which I won't say it. I won't say on air because it's too weird. But yeah, go on.
This one was just a result when it was ages ago now. It must have been like a couple of years ago. We at work started doing kind of daily warm-up drawings amongst like the concept artists, and we just do these little sketches. And one of the prompts was, I think it was just wizard's hat, and I just did a little sketch, and this was it. I thought it'd be really funny if you had like this kind of evil wizard whose like hat needed to be serviced, but it was like broken, and it kind of like he was trying to be serious, and then it just the hat just went wrong and kind of made a mockery of him. That was kind of the thoughts behind it. But yeah, I do want to do a little bit more on those ones because the wizard people are quite fun.
From the concept artist point of view, like with games, do you generally, is it just you concept artists go over there and draw that, or do you get much input into like what actually is going on in the game sort of thing?
You get, it's very, the whole process is very collaborative. So there's a lot of talks and discussions between all the disciplines, which is really nice. It's definitely makes for better games, I think. To be able to have those sorts of kind of cross-discipline conversations. As far as like what you usually get told, like we need this kind of thing concepted, and then you just go away for a while and do a bunch of sketches, and it's quite fun because you can go quite like far out sometimes and be like, oh, I never thought of doing this, or so it is a lot of fun. But usually, you get given a little kind of prompt, and then you go away and come back with your ideas, and then they usually all go in the bin. But one of them goes through, hopefully, after a while.
Nice. I see we've got a couple of questions in the chat, so feel free to pop up any if you want, Caroline, and we can see. I don't know if you're specifically allowed to talk about particular games, but.
Well, my first game that I worked on was called, it was already released, and I was working in live ops, so I can talk about that one. That was called Yahtzee with Buddies. It's just a little like mobile Yahtzee game, little dice people, and it was a lot of drawing the faces for dice and things like that, which was good. It was definitely a good, like, I learnt a lot doing it. So yeah, that was fun. We're probably most well known for Fall Guys is our biggest title, which I didn't work on. I'm afraid it's not mine. Yeah, I can't talk about the project that I'm currently working on, but yeah,
It's a mystery.
it is a secret, I'm afraid.
You'll have them back when you can.
Sorry, did you want that question next, Alex?
Yes. Matt asks, do you have any mentors or people whose work you particularly admire? Good question.
That's a good question. Definitely, just like people I work with are definitely like inspiring. It's great to be around all the creative people and to be in that kind of environment is, so all of those definitely inspiring people. And as far as like other artists go, there's so many to choose from. There's a lot of the old Disney artists, I think, are the biggest influences for me, like Nathan Fawkes, and his kind of use of color is great, and I definitely like to look at his work for reference and to learn from that. And Tonko House is great as well, again, for kind of color and storytelling within the images. It's really useful. Those are the two that come to mind off the top of my head. But again, I follow a lot on Twitter, and it's just a feed of images, which is always great to see. Yeah.
Very good.
I was just frantically Googling them.
Yeah, I could kind of tell. Yeah.
And trying not to start a fight with Matt, but because Matt's not here, and normally he is here, so I feel like I don't have to be like. But I just want to point out that the Silmarillion is really boring and really long, and so I can say that because Matt's not here to argue back with me, but he does say that it's an. I mean, if by epic you mean long and boring.
I've not read it myself, so I can't
I'm not getting involved in this one.
I will read that at some point. I'm not sure I'm going to read it straight after.
It's actually one of those things that, like, maybe if you're artistic, it is actually a bit more conjuring up images of wonderful things, but it's boring.
There we go. You heard it here first. There we are. This one, I think, is my wildcard question, but I think we can probably spend a long time discussing it because I think it's a great question, frankly. So I'm going to ask it right now. So the wildcard question of today's episode is, name your favourite game with a dinosaur in it. Anyone who wants to jump in?
I laugh so much because I've been trying to edit together some clips of previous shows we've done over the last few weeks. And my favourite clip by far is one of you, Alex, saying something about, like, you're talking about one of the protagonists of a game and how, you know, the thing is she's not really interested in this or that. She's just interested in fighting robot dinosaurs. And that's just my favourite little sound bit I've got of you.
And we all know which game that is. I think, unless we don't know, it's Horizon Zero Dawn. So yes, go check it out, because robot dinosaurs. Yes. So anyone who wants to start answering, I could talk for a little while, because there's just so many games with dinosaurs in when you actually stop to think about it. It came to me the other day, because there is one at the end of Astrobot, and I thought, well, I wonder how many games there have been with dinosaurs in, because it was kind of, Astrobot showcased the whole history of PlayStation from PS1 to PS5. And the kind of secret level at the end was a PS1 demo of an old T-Rex, and he kind of comes up to the fighting arena that you're in, and you have to battle him. And then they do a kind of modern remake of it for the PS5, which is like an extra part to the boss fight at the end, which was quite fun. But yeah, there are actually a fair amount. So feel free.
I've been very boring and obvious, but I don't get to rant about this very often, which is Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. So there's been lots of Jurassic Park games over the years, and so obviously that's where my brain goes, but I am a huge Jurassic Park fan. I absolutely love that thing. And Operation Genesis, I had back, it came out like just at the turn of the century. It was like 2000, 2001. And it's basically The Sims or Theme Park, but with Jurassic Park. And so it's a lot like the modern one that they've done recently, Jurassic Park Evolution, but it's so much better because it's pure open world sandbox. You just have to build Jurassic Park, and you just need it to work, and you just need it to run. And for years I was trying to basically download like illegal versions of it, because the company, as so often happens with these things, the company that owned the rights went defunct. Nobody then had the rights, and then the game sort of got lost to the ether because of that. And it makes me really sad when games get lost like that, where they can't do a modern reboot release of it. You can't get it on Steam. You can't get that because the way that the rights have gone has meant that nobody's allowed to sell it on or anything. But yeah, the modern Jurassic Park Evolution, I believe it is the right game name, isn't it? I hope so. It's pretty much the same, but they've made it all snazzy and Hollywood, whereas it used to just be you'd create your little Jurassic Park, breed a load of raptors, and then if you wanted to have fun, you could take one of the fences down, let them go riot around all the visitors to the park. That's how I enjoyed myself at university. I don't know about everybody else.
I should add also, it doesn't have to be a video game. It can be a board game, as we have discussed last time. Board games are also valid games. So, I don't know if there are any board games with dinosaurs in, but probably.
Dinosaur in Stardew Valley. You can get little dinosaur pets. I think I have an egg, but it hasn't hatched yet. I haven't been able to put it in an incubator. So yeah,
it will hatch.
One day I'll have my pet dinosaur.
I remember I used to have a Tamagotchi dinosaur. I think it was. But then I think I left it underneath the magazines for like 4 hours by accident, and it died. So that was not a successful venture in any sense of the word.
I had a 101 Dalmatians Tamagotchi that just wouldn't stop. I had to put it in a different room at night time so I could actually get some sleep. It was
oh my god,
intense.
Yeah, children are a bit like that. I wasn't very good with my Tamagotchi, but I've managed to keep my daughter alive for 13 years, so I've just done slightly better there. I can't think of any games that I have ever played that have dinosaurs in, which cannot be true.
Oh.
I can't think. I mean, I play Stardew Valley, but I don't have an egg.
But Jem, did you hear what Kate just said then?
No.
World of Warcraft.
Oh,
we play more fantasy games than any of us. They've all
dragons, though, aren't they?
They've got raptors, I think.
Oh, they do, yeah.
I'm having flashbacks. I love World of Warcraft.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true, yeah.
D&D.
Well, there you go, then. It has to be World of Warcraft. But I won't bang on about that again, because we've all heard me talk about that far too much.
But obviously, Dungeons & Dragons has plenty of dinosaurs in it. I've been playing through the guy that my dungeon master is running Tombs of Annihilation at the moment, or Tomb of Annihilation, and my characters got completely killed in the first session by 20 velociraptors, and I was just like, I don't think of D&D as being a very dinosaur world, but apparently, yeah. So,
we have a lot of comments about dinosaurs in the comments.
I think some people are confusing dinosaurs and dragons up, though.
This is another question for you. Is a dragon really
they're just
a dinosaur?
chatting amongst themselves about my Dragon Age experience.
To be fair,
I did wonder about Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, Pokemon. I suppose they could count. Yes, we say they are. Yes, but no,
I always think Charmander's a bit of a little dinosaur.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Fairy Tale. I forget. So long ago.
Am I going to have to open my Steam library again? Sorry, that was just me. I forgot we're doing a podcast.
It's nice to chat. But yeah, no, the question was partially inspired by your creature kit, the one that you concept arted for. Yes, I suppose it has some elements of a dinosaur about it. But yeah, it reminds me of the ones at the end of Yahtzee. I don't know if you've got that far, Jim. There are kind of like ancient dinosaur-esque sea creatures.
Yes, no, I have. End. I could have given that as an answer as well, couldn't I? See, there you go. I just don't see dinosaurs. Oh, big fish. Oh, dragon. Small dragon.
We should make a list.
Yeah.
Games with dinosaurs.
Well, I did a search on Google, and it came up with there's like, the top 10 dinosaur games for 2021, and so there's obviously a very common
high demand for dinosaur games.
Yeah. If you had to concept art a dinosaur, which dinosaur would it be?
It's got to be a Stegosaurus.
Yeah,
they're the best ones.
They are actually. They're quite fun. Yeah. They have like little cornflakes on the back of their.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Like dinosaurs are great. They're definitely a good source of inspiration. Sorry to turn us back into art.
No, I was just laughing at myself because like my episode has turned into the dinosaurs episode instead of gaming industry. But all topics are valid. And
I did realise I probably should have talked about Ark.
Yeah.
Because like Ark is obviously I being a survival game woman, you just and I love dinosaurs, so you'd assume Ark would be like my game because it is basically like Rust with dinosaurs. But I realised that basically when I tried to play it about 4 years ago, my computer just couldn't run it. It was just like it was running a stuttery piece of shit, and I just never quite got back into that. But I just got my new graphics card. Maybe it's time to get into Ark now. It's because it is basically Rust with dinosaurs, and I enjoyed Conan Exiles for that reason, which was it was basically Rust but with big giant alligators and stuff like that. So it would be all right. But it's all about whether the building works or not, because I just want to build a little hut and pretend all the other people aren't there. I should stop playing PvP games where I don't want to see other people.
Yeah, you're just the antisocial character in all the PvP games.
To the farthest point of the map, build a little hut, and leave me alone.
That's my thoughts on Sea of Thieves. Like, I like Sea of Thieves, except for all the other players that ruin my game.
Totally. Because I keep having friends ask me to play Sea of Thieves with them. I'm like, I don't want to have to talk to people and stuff.
I like Danielle's question, because I was actually thinking that the ice cream van that we were looking at earlier had a concrete genie feel to it. So do you have any thoughts?
I don't know what concrete genie is.
Sorry, we have to find it. Can we try and
answer this question? Any super popular games you couldn't care less about? I suppose you can't say Fall Guys, so.
I care a lot for Fall Guys, it's great. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of games that I suppose I want to care a lot about, and then just they're not really things like Cyberpunk. I don't really have any kind of. I don't really want to play it that much. I wouldn't mind watching, I suppose, about like the let's play or something, but to actually play, probably not so much. Games like that, I kind of like to watch more like a film, I suppose, than to actually like play. Which, I don't know what that is, but
I guess where games are a lot more cinematic, sometimes you just prefer to watch them. Although, I guess Cyberpunk is pretty heavy on the RPG, isn't it? But, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that's down to just the time commitment thing, or is it more just a mental watch it?
Definitely partly a time commitment thing. Just don't have so much time these days, and the time that I do have for gaming at this point, I want to be like doing it with other people as a social thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like at some point I'll get back into kind of those kind of games.
Or is it too close to work? You know, like a busman's holiday?
No, because like it's not too close. But it's I don't know. I just don't have any like strong feelings over playing them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We have to find. I'll see if I can find you some info on Concrete Genie, because it'd be interesting to see what you think about it.
Well, it's really interesting because my daughter's very anti anything artistic. She doesn't. I don't like art, and we're like, how can you say that? Because art is such a wide ranging subject. But she's like, nope, don't like art. So we got Concrete Genie, and it's a little game where the protagonist kind of runs around a dark town graffitiing the walls, and it's just a really beautiful game. And obviously every game is slightly different because each person chooses what they put on the walls, so you can use whatever patterns you want, so it's unique to the player. And she really loves it because it's just an opportunity to run around and do this and create this. And part of it is you create these little genies that run around the walls with you, and what you do, how you create those genies, what body parts you put on them, changes the personality of the genie and changes the noises it makes and the way it moves, and so again that's unique. And there's just this little artistic element going throughout the game that is just happening there, and she really enjoys that game. And I think do you feel like we need more sort of artistic-y games to inspire the next generation to
that sounds like really cool. I'm a massive fan over anything where you can like customize for your personal tastes. I think that's like really important, and definitely like is something that makes me want to play a game, like especially if it's something so like free as that is. That sounds really cool. Absolutely, more games about art would be kind of cool, really cool to get, especially like if it gets people interested into art and like kind of realizing there's more applications for it than you kind of think there might be.
It's almost art by stealth in a way, Concrete Genie. Yeah, another game that's quite similar to that, I suppose, would be Dreams, which is kind of exactly what you describe. It's where you just make whatever you want, and then you make it into a kind of dream. I can't really explain it because it's just so abstract and things. It's kind of like a 3D modeler, but in the guise of a game, which and you can just make whatever you want, and you can put music on it and everything as well, which is quite cool. I think a lot of people have taken up that and created a lot of different things on it. It's insane how much people have made. Like, I think you can actually just make entire games out of what you create as well, which is really cool. But yeah, that's definitely one to have a look at.
I think that's why I like the building games so much, is because I have no artistic skill whatsoever, but when it comes to like, right, here's pieces that you can put together and you can build a house or build a castle or build a whatever it is that I decide to build at the time, then it's like it gives me a chance to do something mildly creative that I can't do with my hands generally and stuff like that. Enjoy that.
Really liked the game Spore. It's quite old now.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That one, when that came out, I remember kind of like it blew my mind a bit. Like I can like create anything, like any creature. Like that's so cool. So that for me was really fun.
If people want to see more of your work and things, I don't know if you're regular posting at the moment, but where can people find what you've already done?
Instagram is really the best place to go.
Awesome.
Just Kate Price illustration. Yeah.
I can type your handle in the chat if you tell us.
Oh yeah, it's I've got to remember exactly how it is now. It's just Kate, I think it's Kate Price, all one word, and then _ illustration.
Awesome.
That you should be able to find me from that.
Everyone in the chat, go and look now.
Well, and correct me if it's wrong.
Yeah, sorry if I can't remember my own handles.
No, that's right. I've followed you.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank you.
There we are.
Found you and followed you.
Nicely done.
Speaking of finding and following, if you don't already, please like, share and subscribe, as Matt would say, as he's not here, but I've said it for him. And we have content for you every Thursday at roughly 7 o'clock. We'll be doing something. We'll either be chatting or playing games or something vaguely similar to that. But yes, expect content from us every Thursday at 7. And we look forward to chatting more about gaming and feminism and lots of other cool things like that. Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we say goodbye?
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me. It's been
The
great.
most important thing that I forgot to say. Yes. But thank you very much for coming on.
First official guest.
Yeah. Thank you for being our first guest. And we will. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't manage to arrange the heads how I wanted to, but I'll work on it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, Matt's just got one last question, actually, before we go. He says, what upcoming game are you most excited about? I think that could be for all of us, if you want.
No, I think mine are all out now.
There's nothing left.
No, I did forget to mention when you asked about what games we've been playing about Sayonara Wild Hearts, and I have now I have only got silver on every level, but I have worked my way through all the levels, and it is amazing, and I really, really recommend that. It's really cool.
Baldur's Gate for me. It's just going to be Baldur's Gate for until it comes out. And then I won't be able to do anything or play any other games for about 3 years. It'll be ridiculous.
I've mentioned it on a previous episode, but whenever it's due out, I'm really looking forward to playing Stray, which is a game about playing a stray cat with a tiny backpack on, and there's lots of robots, and that's all I know.
Yeah,
so
that's on my wish list as well.
Very excited about that.
Oh yeah, I'm too. Yeah. Now that I've got a PS5, I just put it on the back burner because I was like, I'm never going to get one of those, and now I have.
I've also got something called Over Magica on my wish list, because you know that thing that did the rounds on Twitter and social media of the idiot who posted the picture of the woman versus the fan art and said, "Oh, game makers are making women look too masculine."
Apex Alpha, yeah.
One of the developers behind this game, Over Magica, which is basically about raising little blobs, did a spoof video where they put some pretty faces on the blobs and said, "Oh, they're making the blobs look too masculine," and mocked him. And so on the basis of that alone, I have added the game to my wish list for when it comes out on Steam.
Brilliant.
Whatever works. Awesome. Thank you again, Katie, for coming on. It's been a real pleasure. We've really enjoyed having you on. I hope you've enjoyed being a guest on the podcast as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'll keep an eye on your work via your Instagram handle as well. And we'll look forward to seeing what's coming next from Mediatonic in the future as well, which will be awesome. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And thank you for putting up with my truly awful hosting in comparison to that. We made it through. It's fine. And you never know, I might do it again in the future. But we'll be back at some point next week, Thursday at 7 usually. And we'll see you all then. Bye, everybody.